Hello, today I'm going to talk to you about conquering self-discipline. Yes, self-discipline. I'm sure at some point in your life you've experienced moments of indiscipline or a lack of self-discipline or personal discipline or however you want to call that. And also, I also experience that from time to time. But the key is the awareness that, this is a lack of discipline. For example, I'd planned to record this video today. So I planned for that yesterday. And then later in the day, I was like, okay, Neka, maybe you could actually do it tomorrow morning. And I said to myself, no, Neka, you did say you were going to do that today. So get ready and do this video. And by the way, I'm talking about self-discipline. So go figure, right? Well, anyway, self-discipline is the ability to give yourself a command and actually following through with it. The ability to give yourself a command that you're going to do this, you're going to execute on that, and you do it. It's holding yourself to things that you said you want to do. You know, and that is actually the difference between success and failure. It's easy or easy enough or easier for people, a lot of people or most people, to have their plans. Yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. But the key is in the execution. And the difference between execution, the plan and the execution is actually the discipline to carry that out. Particularly when you, these are things that you desire to do, not necessarily somebody maybe at work telling you, oh, you need to do this, and so that you are compelled to do that. I like what Plato, a Greek philosopher, in about 450 years BC, that said, the first and the best victory is to conquer self. Also, 200 years later, a Chinese philosopher about 600 years BC, before, 200 years before Christ, said that power over other people, disciplining other people, right, is strength, right, when you're able to control other people. But controlling yourself is actually where true power lies. That is really true power. I mean, if you're able to discipline yourself, you can get everything that you want done. So how are ways to conquer discipline? There are so many ways to conquer that. And the key is being aware of that, particularly when you know you are not doing this because you actually you don't have the discipline. One of the ways is to do it even when it feels not good, and typically will not be. And the reason why is that typically habits are created it works from the something called, in one part of the brain that is affected by, like your emotions, your feelings. Meanwhile, decisions occurs from what you call the prefrontal cortex. Right? So there's two different parts of it. And so when you decide to do something, particularly if you're breaking a habit or starting something new, you're not going to feel like it because that's where your emotions are. That's when you are now feeling so good about it. And your body or your brain has not been programmed to do that. So there will always be some kind of discomfort. For example, going to exercise, maybe you plan to do your exercise because you know that it's going to help you lose weight and become even healthier. You decide, okay, I'm going to do this 3-4 times a week. Well, maybe plan to do it at 6 a.m. The alarm goes on and it's like, I don't feel like doing that. Well, that is because you have not mastered that habit. And so even when it feels, so it's awareness that it's not going to feel good, but I have made that decision and more or less commanding yourself to do that. So you do it, you embrace it even when it feels not so good. The second way that usually helps me is to actually set triggers. Right? So where I'm able to say with my planning, I'm going to do this, and actually put it on my phone to begin to remind me of those activities. So, and I may even have like a preparation, or like something like in advance saying, okay, Neka, you're going to do this. And it's especially a habit that I haven't mastered. So it reminds me and then, gives me enough notice. And before you know it, I'm up doing that. A second area is to actually know your weaknesses, or a third is to know your weaknesses. And it's important, again, that's also knowing self. An example, again, I'll use, the example of losing weight, working to lose weight. You may know that, okay, I'm not actually as motivated. I don't enjoy it like other people. So what can I do? I can get someone who I can be accountable to. For example, get a coach or get a fitness body that I can work out with, knowing that I'm holding myself accountable for that. That's usually very powerful. In fact, years ago, when I really wanted to lose some weight, I had to get myself a coach. And so actually, in fact, most recently, about last year, right, got a coach by 5 in the morning. I paid up front. And so 4:30 in the morning, I know I have to get up because the coach was waiting for me by 5 a.m. If I did not have that coach, I know there is no way I would have, maintain that fitness regime. Now I'm able to have developed the habit. I'm now able to go on my own. In fact, I still have to go to a gym and take part in fitness classes because I know that if I work out alone, probably after 20 minutes, I'm going to be like, no. So yeah, so you have to know your weaknesses and be able to work around that. Another way to conquer or to be a master of self-discipline is to remove temptations, right? So again, talking in the area of losing weight and being fit, another example is I like desserts. I love sweets. So I don't have it in the house at all because I know that if I have that in the house, I am going to eat that, right? And what about you? What are your weaknesses and what are the temptations that you have around you? Some may even be like, those who kind of like to watch movies and get distracted, or even like your maybe distractions on your phone. Some people turn off all notifications because they know that they'll constantly be distracted, and so they cannot actually do the things that they desire to do. Yes. So what about you? What are your weaknesses? And then how can you remove temptations? The other is to create new habits. No, sorry. It's to reward yourself with habits. Reward yourself when you know that you have practiced some areas of discipline. Well, I hope that this has helped you thus far, the areas I've talked about. What else? I'd like to hear from you. How else have you conquered self-discipline? Or is that an area that you're struggling with? And if it's an area that you're struggling with, you can send me a direct message and we can see how I can work with you to be able to conquer that, because you have some plans, you have some goals, but somehow you've just not been able to achieve that. And you know that is as a result of a lack of self-discipline. I'd love to get your feedback. So until we next connect, endeavor to live a life of significance.